Hey, we're going live and straight to it.
We're live. We are live.
Just straight to it. We didn't even like have a build up with Todd or anything. We just brought him right
I
on
love
in.
your bumper music.
Todd's been on here, man, for like an hour.
Has he?
He went and ran some errands, but he came back
Yes,
In that
because that's how
simulator
we
car?
do.
we multitask.
That's right.
I was
Some
trying to catch up
multitaskers.
for the show because I know it goes late for it sometimes. So.
Well, Todd, so like you've had some encounters. What was it? 5 times, 5 good encounters.
Let's say 4 good encounters and 1 really bad one.
Oh,
Bad one isn't scary, or bad one isn't.
Bad one is in be careful what you ask for encounter.
oh.
Like very close range and very pissed off.
Which encounter was that? What year did that happen in?
So in 1998, I put together an 8-day expedition close to where I had my 1993 encounter. And along for the ride was none other than Peter Byrne and Ron Moorhead.
Oh,
They were
wow.
both there for the duration. Good friends of mine and very good researchers and trackers, that's for sure. But Ron had actually flown his private airplane up from California to the nearest airport we were located to, which would have been Seaside, Oregon.
Hmm.
And we had hoped to use the plane to do aerial reconnaissance, but the weather that week was just absolutely socked in and on the verge of snow. We had a lot of hail, a lot of rain. Typical Oregon coast mountain weather in April. And I went in April mainly because I wasn't sure in my own mind whether these were regional creatures or whether they were migratory. But, you know, erring on the side of caution, it just made sense to me to be back in that area, not at the, nice sunny summer weather, but at the same time of year
Hmm.
where I had my sighting. Just erring on the side of caution whether they were migratory. So anyway, which I believe they are.
I, I think I'm with you on that for sure. Hmm.
Well, and in so much as elk or deer or really any animals, um, especially around here, the Coast Range and the Cascade Range, when your water resource freezes over, you have to come down. And deer, elk do it. There's no reason, bear. I mean, what are you going to do? Lick the ice? I don't know. But anyway, I think it was on day 6 that Ron saw a break in the weather, and even though he's instrument rated, he just was more comfortable flying out visual. So he made apologies, said, "Hey, Peter's going to drive me down to Seaside, and I'm going to fly on out." And so that left me about 2 hours. It was about an hour each way. And I had a set of seismic ground sensors that I had borrowed from the North American Science Institute, and I had yet to emplace those. I have my own set of 4, which had been in the ground for a while, but I thought, well, this is perfect time. While they're gone, I'll just go up above our base camp and lay out kind of a picket fence array, catching anything coming down the mountain toward our base camp. I got maybe 3 of them in, and I could see quite clearly that there was a hailstorm coming in. And knowing it would be short-lived, I decided, I had to make a choice: go down to the base camp, which would have taken me 10 minutes, and I probably would have got hammered by the hail by then, or go about 100 yards further up the mountain into some old-growth timber and use those big old Douglas fir trees and western red cedars as an umbrella and just wait this thing out. So while I'm there, I had to answer the call of nature. Is this a kid's show? I just want to be sure. Okay.
Not really.
We'll keep it PG. Anyway, so yeah, so I had just did a number one, and was buttoned up my jeans and was starting to fasten my belt when.
Whoa, man!
What's going on?
Just go ahead. I'm just messing with you.
We thought you were going X-rated.
I have video. If you've got that cheap porn background music,
that Bigfoot
this would be a good time to fire it up.
I don't know if that's on my mix board or not. I don't think I have 70s Bigfoot porn on my mix.
Okay.
Oh man.
So
I'll do better, Todd.
Anyway, I just was latching my old belt buckle there when something from about my 10 o'clock, very close, I would guess 75, 80 feet away, let off the most horrendous roar that I've ever heard. And it wasn't bear or cougar. I've heard them both many times. This was probably 115 decibels at least, and it lasted like, 3 seconds. I've described it as a roaring bark, and the only reason I throw that in there is because there was like this MGM lion on volume 11, and at the very end there was this really guttural kind of thing at the end, almost like a bark, which that I can't remember the name of that line, but anyway, they don't do that. And so here I am wanting. There was something that said run, but which I think that's a natural thing to do. But I think there was this more primal, subliminal kind of thing going on in my head. Says, if you want to live, if you want to survive this, don't move. And frankly, I couldn't if I wanted to. And it took me a full 2 minutes before I moved at all, let alone blinked. I'm pretty sure. I'm glad I took care of business before this happened, but
yeah.
It never showed itself, but I would say to this day, it's as close as I've ever gotten to them. There was a huge hedge of salal, what we call salal, and also Scotch broom. And I had no question in my mind that it was laying back behind that. But anyway, after 2 minutes, I finally got the courage to blink, and then I kind of started shifting my eyes around looking for anything and everything I could find to defend myself. The irony was I had brought along a 12-gauge shotgun, a .357 Weatherby Magnum rifle, and a 9mm. When I mean brought along, I left it at base camp. Yeah, that's preparation.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so shame on me. But the only way I can describe the level of sheer panic, there's one analogy I can think of, and it's not pleasant, but it's along the lines of you're having a lovely flight at, say, 20,000 feet, and some joker shoves you out of the door.
Oh, boy.
And so now, because I used to skydive, 20,000 feet take you about 45 seconds to go splat. It really, once you reach terminal velocity, so it doesn't feel like you're falling. It just looks like the ground's coming up at you. But that is the level of fear I felt. It was 2 minutes of abject terror. And you're talking to somebody who's been shot at with not just guns, but rockets and mortars and missiles and things like that. And, summited mountains and swam with sharks, scuba dive with sharks and barracudas. And I'm telling you, I was never more. I told a friend of mine who had a similar encounter along the Columbia River. I won't use his name, but if he's listening, he knows who he is. But I mean, he had not just a similar experience, but I mean, I'm going right to his reaction and being literally paralyzed with fear. And I'm trying to unsee that. Anyway.
That was my son. He has no shame.
No, that's right? TMI. Anyway, I just saw a young naked child trying to escape your home, so we'll just leave it at that.
That's a grown man, Todd. I don't know about.
Oh. So, what were we talking about again?
No.
Well,
man, you just never know what's going to happen in this place here, Todd.
Well, that's entertainment, right? So anyway, my friend that I would come to meet later on, and who told me of a very similar experience where he had one chasing him off of a beach as he's trying to run to his boat, which his wife conveniently has 50 feet offshore. And having, been, I don't know, paralyzed with fear. I thought it was a euphemism. I learned something different that day. But I really felt paralyzed. I was not in control of my body at that point. It was just going on reflex survival. But my friend explains a very similar situation, and when he broke free, he says, ask my wife. She saw the whole thing. She was sitting in the boat facing the shore, offshore, and she'll tell you, Jesus isn't the only one that can walk on water, because Kyle literally ran to the boat.
Wow.
And he's a big boy. But when I told him that the way my feelings and the experience, the whole psychological, thing that was going on, I said, I've never felt so helpless in my life. And seriously, that's a level of fear I honestly, and I've had guns pointed at me, this was somebody standing there with a gun in front of you versus a, 10-foot hairy, pissed off gorilla. I'll take the gun.
Yeah, like they never train you to, like, after you're taking a whiz that you're supposed to fight a monster in the woods.
Right. I missed.
There's no training for that.
I was sick that day.
I was gonna say, yeah, you must have been sick that day.
But anyway,
question there for you, Todd.
No, this is important. When he and I shared our experiences, and he really thought he was going to die. And this guy's 6'4", big burly guy. He used to MMA fight and all that. He said, when I told him I've never felt so helpless in my life, he looked at me and he said, no.
Mm-mm.
Not helpless. Helpless means you're lacking assistance. He said, brother, hopeless. And it was like, ding, 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 ding. I mean, that I've always said I've never felt so helpless, but he was correct. I was without hope. I mean, there's a difference between without help or assistance and literally having all hope drained from you. So that's why I compare it to the whole skydiving without a parachute thing.
Mhm.
It's the end is inevitable. You know, you've seen this movie before, and yet there's not a damn thing you can do about it. So that was my second encounter.
So talk about your first one, because you said that earlier when we were talking, like that 20-25 seconds of your life kind of changed your
Kinda,
future.
yeah, like
Yeah.
totally. So I was a part of my 20+ years in the military. I spent the first 6 years as in the Oregon Army National Guard in the 1249th Combat Engineer Battalion, and our mission is mobility, counter mobility, which means we pretty much engineer the war, at least in terms of traffic flow. Where the enemy goes or wants to go, we stop them. Where we want to go and they don't want us to go, we have to destroy whatever defenses they put up. And so for that reason, our job involved a lot of high explosives. And once a year, we had a contract with a local timber company close to Seaside, and they would allow us to go in and utilize they had several gravel quarries, so that when they had to punch in a road to a new area, they had the gravel, they just had it all on site. And so we used 3 of these gravel quarries because we were setting off hundreds, in some cases hundreds of pounds of plastic explosives, C4 or ammonium nitrate, hundreds of pounds that have been soaked in diesel oil, you know, all kinds of fun stuff like
Sounds
that.
like
And
fun.
so that day, if you can imagine, we traveled between 3 rock quarries within probably 5 miles of each other, and practiced our trade, which was, you know, blowing things up. So the third and final site on that day, again, it was April 3rd of 1993, a Saturday. Our last site was a cratering charge, and that's where we threw 250 pounds or so of ammonium nitrate we'd been soaking in diesel fuel for like 3 hours into this little pit, and then we covered it up and jumped up and down on it. Well, we used the privates for that, but
I'm going to Todd's house for 4th of July.
oh, 4th of July is just no fun anymore when you've done what I've done. It's a real downer. You're like, I can do that. Watch this. Hold my beer. No, but so we lit the fuses on this cratering charge, which I think were 11 minutes time fused. So we jump into our vehicles. There were 4 of them, 2 Humvees up front, 1 in the back, and then between the second and third vehicle was a troop transport, you know, one of those covered deuce and a halfs, they call them, 2.5 ton trucks. And we, you know, you don't need SOP to tell you got to get the hell out of there. So we just did our thing, lit the fuse, got it out, and we're driving down to the staging area where we're safely far enough from the explosion to be, you know, in any serious danger. And I'm riding in the second Humvee, sitting behind the driver, and it was a very nice day, not unlike today. And I had the window unzipped, and I had my arm hanging out, and I'm just like, this is Saddle Mountain Hunting Unit, and I hunted it all the time for deer and elk, so it was just natural for me to look around the area for any sort of wildlife. And well, I got a little more than I bargained for. We rounded this corner, the tree level dropped considerably, and we had a direct line of view, or I did, of this second blast site, the one that we had detonated a pretty large amount of C4 at like an hour earlier. So it came into view. I'm looking at it, and what jumps out at me is there are three very large silhouettes, pretty much, or that's the way they look from even in sunlight because they were so dark. Now the quarry itself is basalt that they use for gravel, so it's if you can think of a kind of like a concrete gray, light gray. That's what the pit looked like. But these things, whatever they are, stood out in a very high contrast against that light gray rock and having the sun on them. And my first instinct, just as an NCO, was to, like, I'm supposed to call attention to something like this where there seems to be three individuals. So, I mean, we couldn't order a stop because, you know, that bomb thing behind us. But still, I'm looking at these things, and I hardly got the thought out of my head of what are these three people doing down. I don't even think it got to there when I realized these aren't people at all. And they were, the silhouettes were wrong. I mean, yeah, they were standing up on two legs. They had arms and a head on their shoulder. And but from there, reality departs as far as the legs were too long for one, and the arms were way too long. The arms hung down well below their knees, almost between their knees and their feet. Just weird. Just abnormally long.
Were they three different sizes?
Yeah, well, they were, I would say, two different sizes. They were three. They stood three abreast like this, and almost like my fingers
almost like
here.
that, like your fingers? Okay.
Well, what I'm saying is the one in the middle was like a head taller than the two on either side of it. And they weren't short at all. I estimated their height at around 7 feet, and this one in the middle about 9. But I couldn't help but notice that these, while that taller creature, it's funny because after 28 years, I still don't know what to call him. So forgive me, but the tallest one stood there like a statue. I mean, seriously, it didn't move. And I think as a mature adult Bigfoot that, you know, this is probably their skill set. But these, I have to say younger, I guess, just based on their size, but they maybe more adolescent. They couldn't help themselves. They were doing this shifting weight from foot to foot, left and right, and in the process, they would just be rocking back and forth like this. And I'm talking for the entire 25 seconds I watched them. And like I say, 25 seconds doesn't sound like anything in the grand scheme of things. But take a look at your watch if you got a second hand, and I guarantee you about 15 seconds in, you're going to be like, I want out. Yeah. But when you're seeing something like this, 25 seconds just seemed like an eternity. And the entire time I had this 25-second visual, these guys were on either side of the big one were doing this rocking back and forth thing, and I could
which you hear about quite often, you know.
Well, yeah, you know, I've actually looked for, you know, similarities between my encounter and other people's, and that's one of the things I look for a lot, and I've found it a lot, actually. Excuse me. Oh wait, we're supposed to drink beer on here, right?
You know what?
Squatchaholic.
I'm the only.
Yeah.
Oh, look, that just tells us we're getting old. Oh well, Brian's still in the game.
The guy who doesn't drink.
I had enough this weekend.
Anyway, just to finish up this my initial initiation, my epiphany into the Bigfoot world is that after 25 seconds, we rounded a corner. Probably 45 seconds later, we arrived at the staging area to wait, listen for the explosion. You're not going to miss it. And my first instinct was to jump out of my Jeep and run back up and hopefully get another view.
Yeah, you wanted to see what was really doing.
It's like for just a moment you saw God, and then it got pulled out from under you, and you're like, no, I got, that's not fair, It's like winning the lottery and then get hit by a bus on the way to pick up the cash. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
hey, so did you mention this to any of the other guys out there? Or?
Not at all. Not at all. People have asked me that. It's a good question. It's a fair question. But the truth of the matter is that I was so transfixed on what I was seeing, and I'm just talking about the duration of my sighting there. I was in number one. Initially it was like you're kind of in a state of denial, and when I say initially, I'm talking like in a 3-second period. You go through this trying to rationalize it as anything but what it really is. Oh yeah, there's 3 North American black bears all standing up simultaneously looking at us doing the Watusi, or at least 2 of them.
Oh, they're circus bears too, because they're
of course
doing stuff.
See, Pete has been releasing those, I understand, in the wild. So
how far away were you, Todd?
So I did a measurement using Google Earth and was able to run, using their measuring tool, run a direct line of sight. And of course, at being on a curve, at a certain point, you're closer than coming in or out of that curve. But from the apex of that curve down there, I think was like 734 feet, I want to say. And then when you convert it to yards, it's, a little over 300 yards or 300 meters. Now that seems like an extraordinary distance, but let me tell you, as a soldier, I've got sons in the Marines and Navy, and they'll tell you, we, using a standard M4, engaged targets on a range at well over 300 meters just with iron sights, no optics at all. And in the Marines, they do it 500 meters, and again with no optics, just iron sights. So that really, when I can see a half, like what we would call a MARF range, just shows you like a half a torso, but it's life size. They pop up out of the ground, and you knock them down with, okay, you know what I'm talking about. When I can see enough of a half of a human at 300 meters and knock them down consistently just with peep sights, it's really not that far.
You can gauge size pretty good and distance.
Yeah.
Sure.
And at times I don't know why I didn't do it before. At times I was just guessing, 400 or 500 yards. But I'm glad I used that measuring tool on Google Earth. But anyway, so getting back to what you were talking about as far as anybody else being aware of what happened, again, my biggest fear while I was actually seeing them is I'm going to turn my head to tell somebody something, and then when I look back, they're going to be gone. And I was just so transfixed on it. There's just no way I was going to take my eyes off it.
Yeah.
And I was under the assumption I was the only person that actually saw these things. So we get down the staging area. I run, I don't know, maybe 200 yards up the road in the direction we just came, hoping to get to a vantage point where I could see this quarry again. And there was this kind of a knoll, just like in the wrong place, but it blocked my direct line of sight. And I realized to get to where I had to go that I would literally have to run, jog, out of view of our company that was doing this demolition, which is a big no-no. Just because of the extreme danger of what we're doing. And so, but still, I'm on my tiptoes. I'm like looking off in the distance, trying to just hopefully. Then I heard somebody yell out my last name, Neiss. Hey, Neiss. And I look over, and here comes Sergeant Martin. And he walks up to me, and he gets up to about where I'm at, and he says, I don't suppose you saw what I saw down at the second blast site.
What? Oh, yeah.
Excuse me. Where's my mute button? Anyway.
Y'all just formed like a club right there.
Yeah, totally. Brotherhood. Well, that club would actually expand later. So I said, I don't know, Jeff, what did you see? And he takes a drag off a cigarette and looks around left and right, making sure nobody else is in earshot. And he says, well, I saw 3 huge hair-covered, I don't know, Bigfoot, I guess. And at that, of course, I went, yeah, dude. Wow, welcome to my world.
At that point, were you like, phew,
well, that's the interesting thing. I mean, I can't unsee what I saw that day. I mean, I can close my eyes and see it just as if it just happened, you know. So I didn't personally need his corroboration, but it still was nice to have somebody, you know, tell you you're not crazy. And not that I think I was, but still. So being in the National Guard, traditionally you drill, they call it, or you train 1 week into month, and then 2 weeks in the summer, and unless you get deployed, and that's another story. But so it would be early May when we had our next drill, and surprise, surprise, 2 more soldiers actually came forward, independent of each other, and admitted to seeing exactly what Jeff and I had seen. So in that token, it makes that sighting, I can't call it mine because, but our sighting, pretty unique. One, because multiple animal sightings are pretty rare. It's usually, you know, onesies, you know. Secondly, multiple eyewitnesses of multiple animals are very rare. And then, of course, you take into the fact what we were doing, you know, that day, which was literally sending up mushroom clouds from these quarries. And, you know, we're rocking their world. So
yeah, they're like, what the?
So one question I get a lot is, that's crazy. I mean, any animal anywhere near these explosions are going to go 180 degrees in all directions away from that area. I agree. Normal animals would do that.
Yeah.
We're not dealing with normal, and just for the record, I believe them to be hominid, as in not human, not in the whole, you know, but in that line, more so than say a great ape or what have you. I think they are relic hominid species of man, early man, that somehow survived ice ages and have been here even before modern day Native Americans. But be that as it may, I have a theory that has really kind of guided my research. I'm going to give you a what if. Let's say you and Brian, Shane and Brian, you're out there sitting on your porch in suburbia, Kentucky, or wherever you're at, and Tennessee, and you're drinking a adult beverage when all of a sudden a jet airliner falls out of the sky, out of control, and crashes 5 blocks from your home. The ground shakes. There's a fireball. There's black smoke. You know there's fatalities, injuries, what have you, and not just from the plane, but on the ground, perhaps your neighbors, whatever. I think for like 5 or 10 minutes, yeah, you're going to go, oh my God, what did I just witness? And you're going to be traumatized by it. But I dare say within, say, 20 or 30 minutes, that there's going to be, you being human, a tendency to want to see what you could do to help. Maybe, you know, you're closer to the fire literally than probably emergency personnel, and you know, you regain your composure and you literally walk toward the fire. You walk toward the flames. Because this is your backyard. This is your neighborhood, and those are your neighbors. And so, yeah, I believe 99% of the common creatures in the forest, when they see something like what we were doing, I swear they would go away from it and probably wouldn't come back for some time.
Yeah.
So now the question remains, why? Why would this particular species be able to overcome what would obviously be shock and awe, or whatever you want to call it, be able to have a sense of curiosity or concern to a level that overrode their personal safety?
Mm-hmm.
That's called curiosity. That's called imagination. It's called intelligence.
Self-preservation.
Right. And I really think these three that came out eventually to investigate us, and it took them an hour. I don't know. That's when we saw them. They could have been there sooner than that. But I think they were kind of on a scouting mission to find out what the hell's going on and to report back to their clan or whatever they have. But so, like I say, this is what's guided me in my one of your listeners makes a very good point. Their curiosity is their biggest weakness. I agree with that. And so you might find it interesting that my very first expedition was on the actual anniversary of my sighting, and I just took a friend of mine, and we took a camper and literally went into the rock pit and lowered it down, the jacks all the way as low as they'd go. I have some camouflage netting we put over it. We were the real Nat Geo wannabes out there. And, honestly, I didn't even consider myself a researcher at that time, but be that as it may, we gave it a good shot. And when I'm organizing this particular expedition, I happen to name it Operation Entice Contact, because that says it in a nutshell. It's let's go out there, let's think of conventionally about what we would do if we wanted to come up on any animal. I mean, there's all kinds of things from, bait to decoys to calls to, and yeah, absolutely explore those options. But again, unconventional means as well, because frankly, we haven't got it right yet. I mean, we've gotten close. We're getting closer. And I think their ultimate discovery, and at least in terms of meeting scientific standards, is inevitable. But
God, I hope so.
And consequently, my 1998 expedition with Ron and Peter was called Operation EC2, and I had four hats made for. There was one other individual with us, Woody Woodworth, who's a expert hunter. So I made these 4 hats that were embroidered that said EC2. That's all it really said on it. I've still got mine. I don't know what's left of the others, but anyway, it's kind of a little bit of history now. But again, that's just emphasizing, enticing them is, I think, a legitimate way to draw them in. Now, to do that, you're going to have to, A, be in an area that has shown some fairly recent activity, and B, plan to be there for a pretty long duration, and the longer the better, because I've always said you don't find Bigfoot finds you, and I think in 90% of the cases that's true. I mean, how many people go out? I mean, with the exception of probably Patterson and Gimlin in 1967, actually go out and score that sighting. Most sightings are absolute happenstance, right place, right time, or in some cases, wrong place, wrong time.
Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, that's kind of been my mantra. And like I said, we've used conventional hunting and attracting strategies, as well as we've kind of invented some along the way, different things, and chemical lights hanging from a tree on fishing line or something. I think you want to make it pretty innocuous and non-threatening, but at the same time interesting, both day and night. And I think in time, if you're in the right area and you're willing to stay for 2 weeks to a month, I think your odds are gonna be pretty good. Well, I'm retired now, so I'm hoping to do that pretty soon. But I've got a lot of irons in the fire right now that I've got to deal with before I can do that. But yeah, but I think that's the way it's going to be done.
Very cool.
Body for these things to be recognized.
I can barely hear you, dude.
Do we have a question for the audience?
Can you hear me now?
There you go. There's Brian.
I don't happen to my.
Oh yeah.
I was going to say, do you think it's going to take a body for these things to be recognized?
I think so. It's kind of a trick question. I think a body in the form of a carcass or a skeleton, even possibly fossil evidence, is pretty much a game changer. However, some of the people that have been placed in charge of such things as the Interior Department in the United States is in charge of your Fish and Wildlife and your Forest Service and your agriculture and all that stuff. They're the ones that sponsored the 1973 Endangered Species Act back in the day, and you might be surprised to find that, because I was really bored, but I read that whole damn thing looking for any sort of don't even wait for the movie. It's not worth it. But I was looking obviously for some reference that I could tie to these beings, and there is actually in the Endangered Species Act, I'll have to get it to you unless you want me to go fishing through my PowerPoint slides, but there's an actual statement in there that says that they have the authority to enact protections for unclassified animals based on the evidence, which is kind of ethereal, but so there is that little asterisk. And I think there's a couple other passages that go into a little more detail. And then there's on an international basis, there's the IUCN, which is the International Union of Conservation of Nature, which is based in Amsterdam. And this body has been tasked with given really the honor to name any new species that comes along, and talking about that binomial Homo sapien or Gigantopithecus blackie or what, they give them that they're able to literally officially record new species, and they do it all the time. But on the other side of the coin, their job is also to monitor the health of known species, and they're the ones who put out what's called the red list, which I always thought there's like alive and like extinct and then threatened and endangered. Well, there's actually 9 different levels going from perfectly fine to extinct, and endangered and threatened are just a couple. I mean, for instance, it's like endangered, but and in captivity, for instance, or the last endangered, because this is the last known specimen or something, but it's not technically extinct yet. But the thing too is to qualify for extinction doesn't require the last of a species to die off. They have what they call it's like I'm not saying it right, but it escapes me. But it's like theoretical extinction, which means once you get any population of any species gets below a certain threshold of, say, like 220, they're pretty much doomed to extinction, simply based on 220 of anything is pushed to the point of inbreeding, and in the process having their immune systems compromised and all kinds of genetic issues. And so you don't have to kill the last of them, but there is a tipping point. And so interestingly enough, 2 of those 9 categories leave room for our Bigfoot to fit into.
Yeah,
without naming names, because if you just take out, you're not naming a specific specimen. You're just saying this species under this condition does qualify as threatened or endangered or protected or what have you. So there's 2 different categories down toward the bottom of that red list, obviously, but they leave an open door to accepting and actually classifying and putting in law protections for something they've never laid their hands on. And I'll give you an example. About 4 years ago, and bear with me. There was a, what do they call it, entomologist? Which is the one that goes, looks around for bugs and stuff?
I think that's it.
Yeah,
okay. Anyway, so this guy in, I don't know, Africa or Brazil or whatever, photographs, high definition photographs, very clearly what appears to be a new species of bee fly. It's a fly, but it looks a lot like your black and orange fuzzy bumblebees, but it's actually a fly. And okay, big deal. Well, it is a big deal in, when you put things in context. It's a new subspecies that nobody ever found. And new subspecies and even species are being found every year. Even in the hominid category, we look at what's the one they found in Indonesia on the island of Florence, they call it Homo florensis, or the hobbits, that they discovered like in the last 10 years.
Oh yeah.
They determined that these like 3.5 foot, munchkins were actually full grown. You know, they were able to determine that they were full grown at that size. And of course, they found one, and then since then, I think they found over a dozen now. And they've changed the carbon dating from what they thought was 1 million years ago when they were active to like really 15,000 years ago, which is nothing. Which means, considering we have a record of Native Americans in North America dating back to 19,000 years ago, that means these guys were still walking on the other side of the planet at the same time Native Americans came here. And for at least 5 years, you know, plus or minus, I mean, not 500 years, plus or minus, they coexisted on this big marble, but just on opposite sides. So why not, you know? But my point with this bee flight thing is, you know, they kind of opened Pandora's box when they said, we as this international institution that's been granted all these awesome powers of being able to quantify the existence of animals, and as they, you know, check off the planet, that's our job, and they can name them and all this stuff, has actually for the first time accepted a new species, or in this case a subspecies, but it's the first and only time they've accepted the existence of the species with a simple clear, that's
picture.
That's the key part, but a very clear photograph, you know, and to me that's key as far as now. You probably know, and I don't mean to shift gears, but I think it's a pretty good segue into the American Primate Conservancy, which is our nonprofit research organization, which we established officially in 2015. And our mission statement is the discovery, research, knowledge, recognition, and protection of the species of Bigfoot and or / Sasquatch or what have you. And that's again why we're a conservancy. Our primary focus is getting to that end stage, that protection part, but we can't get there until we get past stage 4, which is that recognition stage. Discovery, check, it's already been done. It's happening almost, you know, it seems almost daily. These things have been discovered. Research, in order to gain knowledge, that's going on right now. Heck, I've got some things I'm experimenting with. Keep trying to reinvent the wheel on this, but it's getting these things past that stage. And go back to your original question, I think ultimately, at least definitively, some sort of DNA has to be analyzed. And with that being said, DNA can be found in a number of different formats. You just hair samples, scat samples, bone samples, what have you. But like I said, there are some alternative things that have already, between the ESA and this the IUCN Red List and what they've recently done. There's a possibility. I guess really that question always rolls into, would you be willing to kill one in order to, you know, satisfy science? You know, that's kind of a worst case scenario thing for me. No, the worst case scenario thing is if they killed me. But other than that,
yeah.
So But otherwise, for instance, let's go back to 1998 when I was with Ron and Peter and Woody on that expedition. Aside from borrowing the seismic ground sensors that we talked about, they also loaned me a biopsy dart gun, which is basically a 22 caliber rimfire charged tranquilizer gun, frankly, that is retrofitted with these biopsy darts. And for your listeners that may not know what that is, it's a special dart with, not like the ones you throw in the pub, but they are a steel dart that are hollow.
Oh, I know.
And instead of coming to a very, very sharp tip, imagine cutting that tip off just at the very end, and now you're accessing that hollow needle. The ridge of where that cut would be is surgically sharpened. And don't ask me how they make these things, but inside that little needle, 16 gauge needle or whatever it is, are these little micro barbs that face inward. I mean, they're literally tiny little wires that they go like this. So what happens is, you can probably imagine, is if you were to hit any animal, obviously Bigfoot in our case, but if you were able to hit them with this dart, what it would do is it would puncture through the epidermal, dermal, fatty tissue, muscle layers, and simply fall right back out.
Yeah.
But in the process, the creature goes on its happy little way. Well, he's probably a little ticked off by the.
Then you got to find the dart.
But then the dart, yeah, and well, these were painted pretty loudly, but anyway, bottom line is you pick that dart up and you take that back to your neighborhood genetic laboratory, and you've got enough genetic material there to make a solid
scientific
definitive answer without having to actually harm the creature.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are some alternatives out there. So,
where can I buy one of these dart guns?
I don't know where they bought it. It's a standard tranquilizer gun. Actually, yeah, Google that, because I think I've seen those darts out there.
Right.
I think I've seen those darts out there.
I want one of these.
But
yeah,
but
I'm going to tell you, those darts, at least the ones I used, were made of wood. Hopefully, of course, that's probably dating myself, but I'm sure they're a lot lighter now. But I can tell you, the range on that was probably 100 feet, and that's if you kind of did the mortar thing and lobbed it, because it's a very heavy dart and it's only got a 22 caliber charge. Yeah. So
that would work for me.
I'd say it's a long shot, but it'd actually be a pretty short shot, and you're gonna have to get close.
You can always put like some kind of GPS on the dart or something, maybe, to help track it down.
There have been some
little chips you could use.
There have been some attempts at that. I know the North American Wood Ape group has actually successfully deployed that. A similar thing that was, they had designed some kind of they describe it as a burl, like you get caught in your socks when you're running through the brush. And takes you a week to get them all out. And so anyway, they had to fix some sort of a transmitter to one of those and set it up in such a way that it was supposed to, somehow the creature was supposed to be able to, get it on.
Yeah, we've actually heard of this from AWAC. Yeah,
that's not the only one I've heard too. But anyway, they've claimed it works, but they never seem to be able to catch up with it, and eventually, of course, your power system is going to wear out. But it's an interesting concept. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah, you gotta keep trying new stuff. I mean, we still are, right, Brian?
Yeah, you got to think outside the box with this thing. You know what I mean? This isn't here. So.
That's right.
So we've been on an hour already.
Yes, sir.
Time flies when you're having fun, Todd.
I'll speak for yourself. Oh, never mind. Hey, I hate to do this. I know you're mid chat here. If I can get a 2-minute break, I'll be right back. You guys
sure.
do that shadow puppet thing you guys do so well and entertaining. Maybe some juggling.
Some juggling.
But anyway, I'll be right back. Okay.
Sure.
Sorry
All
to do
right,
that
sure.
to you.
Yeah, no,
Hey, no
you're
problem, man.
I'll be right back.
so well, you know.
What's up, dude?
I don't know much. Man. I don't like my camera angle. I'm too.
Why not, dude? It looks
Too
great,
high.
man.
I mean, I know it's good for my big head, but you can't really see me. So
Well, Todd still has 3 more Bigfoot encounter type scenarios things going on. I want to find out about for sure.
I'm gonna mess with my camera.
His last one was in 2020, so
I don't. Usually I don't do this live. You know what I mean?
this is an unscripted show, sir.
It's always unscripted with us.
Did you see my lights flicker a minute ago?
I saw that. Are you getting some storms or what?
Oh my God, it's storming like mad over here. You know, Darren and Aaron are out in Sam Houston National Forest right now.
Are they?
I wonder if they're getting hammered.
Probably.
What is this? You're thinking too human. One step in the woods, they have scanned you completely, your heart, your mind, and what is in your hands, master of our woods.
Interesting.
Sounds like Kindle. That's what Kindle does.
Sounds like something.
Kindle Bray. Yeah. You're probably right. I mean, we've been hot on the hills before and nothing.
Oh yeah.
Hot on the hills.
Hot on the trail.
Hot on the Adidas.
Oh, the old Adidas.
It's nice here in Oregon. 70s. Oh, well, thanks, Larry, for rubbing it in, dude. No, I'm just kidding.
I was gonna say it's probably that here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually pretty nice here. I'm in Texas, but the storm is coming in. It's raining cats and dogs over here.
Is it?
It was
I
earlier.
think we got rain coming tomorrow.
It's thundering.
I was gonna see what our temperature is. So since Larry's rubbing it, it's 58 here.
Hey, but Darren cast a track, dude, out there, and he sent me a picture, and it's pretty odd looking.
Is it?
Yeah.
A lot of detail to it.
Do what?
Got some detail to it.
It's just the toes, the way they're bent, is very strange. And he measured it too. So all of Darren's hard work of casting his own foot's paid off finally. It has, dude. You got to practice, man. You have to practice that stuff. So
Okay, yeah. See what you sent me.
I'm ready to get back out to the creek because there's other cameras I need to check that aren't linked to my cell phone.
When you want to
go? Well, we can discuss it offline.
Oh.
We don't
want no people out there.
We don't want people messing about.
Yeah. Some of those Adidas wearing people to show up. How far are we gonna run that Adidas joke? We're just gonna run that as far as we can because
I don't know, man. Until I forget about it completely, maybe. I don't
Never
know.
gonna forget about it. Yeah. Hope Todd comes back.
He's in the high 60s. Oh, man, I'm jealous. Yeah. I'm in a flat part of Texas near Fort Worth.
And I'm right outside Oklahoma City. So,
man, yeah, but I'm hoping that Darren and Aaron get some good stuff because I mean this weather should bring. It's cool and might bring something out. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. All that moisture on the ground, soft mud.
Oh man, what you talking about, Willis? Cast me some tracks.
I don't know about the Trulies. We didn't get to talk a lot about our alcohol choice for today. But
is that a seltzer? Is that a hard seltzer, Brian?
Yeah, it's a real manly drink.
I know, man. You should have put an umbrella in that bitch.
I should have. You know what? Not very good, I'll tell you that. Because to me, it just tastes like a beer.
Yeah, I was drinking the hard seltzers for a little bit.
Is it good for us old people? I mean, is it like
It's good for the waistline, Brian.
so 100 calories? 100 calories. But
I know, right?
As far as flavor, nah.
Todd's 2 minutes are up, and that's what he said. 2 minutes, right, Larry? That's what he said, dude.
You know, nature calls.
Larry's on our team. He just proved that. He's on our
We'll be sure to let Todd know that. Right. So, hey, I'm
coming.
still rocking
There he is.
your artwork there, Shane.
What?
That's old artwork of yours.
Oh yeah. That's like first year.
It was first edition SBA shirt.
First edition.
First edition.
Like drinking Alka-Seltzer.
But
Brian's tummy will not hurt.
I don't know about all that. I doubt I finished this one can. It's just
Todd, Larry was fixing to call you.
Yeah, he said your 2 minutes was you were past your 2 minute mark. So he was gonna send a SEAL Team 6 in to check on you, make sure you were all right. So
oh man, I can't hear Todd. I can't hear you, Todd.
we lost Todd.
Man.
Nope.
No.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us? Ah.
Does anybody know sign?
How about now?
There we go.
Hey.
Right.
Larry, yeah, well, why don't you just give us your question? I got my phone silent, so
he was worried.
I got caller ID, so you're screwed.
And there you go, Larry. Sorry, man.
Love you, brother.
We tried, dude. We tried.
Anyway, so where were we?
Loch
Ness Monster. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, exactly unicorns.
Right. UFO. Yeah, unicorns.
Hey, tell us about this 2020 encounter, or what happened in 2020 with you and
2020. 2020 was an investigation we did. I think we were talking before the show about the cameras we had put up in the Roaring River Wilderness area, up in the upper reaches. Now we were down in the lower reaches where I had gotten a call where a gentleman who's a hobbyist rock hound was somehow aware of this lava flow. I don't know if you guys know, but I've got a 11,230 foot volcano in my backyard. But
you just can't stay away from exploding stuff, can you?
No. Anyway, there's lava flows around here. Anyway, he knew it during the summer when the water level dropped on the Roaring River that he could get access to this lava flow, and embedded within it was what he called common opal. So he'd go down there, he'd take his full-sized Australian Shepherd with him, and they'd hike in over pretty rough country and get in about a mile. And he'd let his dog roam while he'd go down and take out his little metal chisel and his hammer, and he's tink, tink, tink away, and about 5 minutes into this, his dog starts growling, and he's down on the river, so his dog's, a little bit higher than he is. But this dog just growled unnaturally for him. And finally, this individual put down their rock hammer and chisel and went to investigate why the dog was so mad. And he got up to where the dog was, looked in the direction the dog was looking. And his description to me, when we initially talked, was, he said, he didn't say Bigfoot. He goes, I saw a gorilla. He said, I saw a gorilla standing there on two legs, looking at my dog. And with every time this gorilla exhaled, it would grunt. And in pretty fast succession. And it was obvious it wasn't too happy about the dog being there. Now it's got the guy and the dog. And when he saw this, he shoved the dog off the log, and they ran for all they could. And very uncharacteristically, in this particular case, the creature took chase.
Whoa.
And they're literally running for their lives. And, the dog's running past its master, and the master's grabbing the dog by the collar. And it's like, no, you're supposed to protect me. It's like I don't have to be faster than Bigfoot, just faster than you thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they got to one point where they caught their breath, and they looked back to see if it was still in pursuit, and it was standing there about 100 yards away. And just as soon as they locked eyes, this thing charged them a second time, and
want some more?
Yeah. So they got the hell out of there. Anyway, when he invited a friend of mine and I to investigate 2 weeks later, we go in there, and of course, me and my buddy are strapped up, because you don't hear about aggressive Bigfoot encounters very often. And so we went through the same route they took to get in there, and it took like 45 minutes to get in.
On foot?
On foot, just to go a mile. It's that heavy. I guess there used to be a trail there, but it got wiped out in a flood. So it's real, off-roading there. And so we walked into the site where they said they had their encounter. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, here's his chisel and his hammer and his little rock collection bag still sitting there on the rock. So that kind of legitimized that.
Mm-hmm.
And we took measurements and pictures and whatnot. Amazingly, when we measured from where this guy was standing to where this quote unquote gorilla was, this 47 feet.
Oh, wow.
Dude. It was right on him.
Oh, yeah. 47 feet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they could close that distance in a second.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we're on our way back out, maybe a half hour later, and we get to this place. Again, we're taking the same route. We get to this place where there's kind of a rock wall to your left that's pretty straight up and down, and a bed of ferns and some cedar trees leading out to the river, maybe 100 feet wide at that point. I'm talking about the terra firma part before you get to the river. And the three of us in the dog literally walked into an amazingly powerful stench that I've never smelled in my life that wasn't there 30 minutes earlier. We walked exactly the same route. What happened in 30, maybe 45 minutes at the most? What happened in that period of time that would somehow saturate this area with this disgusting odor, which dovetailed with a number of interviews I've done with other people, the description of rotting meat and just a horrible rancid smell that doesn't even approach that of skunk. I'll take that back. It actually exceeds that of skunk. And that's what really bugged me about it, because it wasn't, you're driving down the road in the country and somebody hit a skunk, a quarter mile ahead of you. I mean, you smell it before you get there, and it just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And then when you pass it, it still takes a while. You're rolling down your windows trying to get that smell out, right? Mm-hmm. This was worse than a skunk. And when I mean a wall of smell, I'm talking, we walked into this and it was so pungent and so powerful that you would have thought we would have smelled it a long time. There'd be like a tapering, getting more focused, concentrated. What is weird is you walk into it and literally want to vomit, and you could take 10 steps backward and you couldn't smell anything. Or you could go 30 steps forward and walk through it and come out the other side 10 steps and you couldn't smell it at all. It was that focused, that concentrated, and I don't get it. It's one of those things I can't wrap my head around as far as how something can smell that powerful and yet not be detectable until you're right on top of it. So that I consider a legitimate encounter. It's a smell encounter, if you will. I've had visual encounters. I've had audible encounters. I've had visual and audible encounters combined. Tree knocks, you name it. But that was, I was going to say eye-opening. That was nose-opening, and I really just, I'm good. I've checked that block. I got the T-shirt. I don't want to ever smell that again.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what happened in 2000 that you referred to. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Todd, when you're talking about tree knocks, because those always pique my curiosity as far as what is a tree knock, what it means, and everything like that. I know we don't have the answers to that, but what do you think a tree knock is? Is it wood on wood? Is it a hand? Is it a rock? What do you think?
I think it's it's part of an unspoken language. It certainly has, in my opinion, a meaning, and it seems to be pretty. How do I say this? It seems to affect or be used all across their territory. So, whereas, do they have a language? I don't know. I'm sure they have a vocal and other ways of communicating, but can a Bigfoot in British Columbia understand a Bigfoot in Texas or what have you? I doubt that, but this seems to be a pretty common theme. My guess, and this is it's just that, but I think the concept of signaling in knocking noises or even clacking noises, rock on rock, wood on rock, wood on wood, is, I believe it's their way of notifying other creatures in that area that the short hairless ones are here. And which is funny because so many people, so many researchers think it's a great idea. I mean, if I'm correct, then all they're doing is going out there and announcing their presence ahead of time. And yeah, they might get responses, but all it is like, they're passing the message down the telegraph line, that, the fools are now telling us they're here. So
I want to say I agree with
spread the
that.
word.
We had a deer hunter in our camp. This was back in 2017 at Sam Houston National Forest. I was out there with a guy named Joe De Hoyos. And a deer hunter showed up. It was hunting season. And he left about 2:33 in the morning. He got up early, he's going to go hunt. And what woke me up was him slamming his truck doors. So I'm awake. And he starts his truck and he takes off. Well, as he's taking off, then I start hearing the knocks. I start hearing knocks.
Really? And where was this?
Sam Houston National Forest.
Which is where?
Texas.
It's in Texas.
Okay.
Sorry. And as he's going, it's like I think I heard it was three different, but it was like one in front of my feet, one over here to the left of me, and then one somewhere in this area. I was laying in this itty bitty tent that you could probably it said 2-person when that was BS.
It wasn't even a tent, Todd. It's a display.
Come on.
They call that a hammock.
It wasn't even a tent. It's like when you go to Bass Pro and they got those little displays on the shelf so you can see what the tent looks like.
That would fit like a poodle.
Yeah, like a koala tent.
Right.
So
I've always wanted to get one for my dog.
It was the cutest thing. He set the thing up in like 15 seconds. You know what I mean?
It was probably pre-assembled.
Yeah, this sticks are this long. It was the cutest thing I ever seen in the woods, man.
Oh my god,
Loved it. So,
that's horrible. But I heard the knocks.
Crap about that tent though.
Always.
Yeah.
I heard the knocks, so I was correlating the knocks with, hey, this guy's leaving. He's gone out of this area. So I don't know if that's what they were saying or it lined up,
I'm
coincidental.
thinking they're probably the ones leaving the area, but just letting people know that give this guy a wide berth. We've got another one. But speaking of vocalizations, and we talked about, I think I sent you. I had an encounter in 2019. Well, there's one I don't think I've even mentioned, where my wife and and this was actually the very, very first time I heard a tree knock, or which it was a knock, but it was very unnatural. We had found this place up on the south slope of Mount Hood that, for whatever reason, nobody ever camps there. And I mean, there's one section that looks, we go on 4th of July, Labor Day, Memorial Day, it didn't matter. Everybody down below is like, all the campgrounds are full and people are just primitive camping along freaking road, along a highway damn near. And, we discovered this spot that has kind of two sections. One section is like a little miniature park, big enough for like 3 good-sized motorhomes with a fire ring and everything. Nobody there. Over time, we discover another one across the way down this logging road that went in probably 150 meters or so, and it was definitely a hunting camp. And it had a lot more shade. And it, again, nobody on holiday weekends, nobody would come down that road. I'm glad I found it, but it's weird.
Was it like all overgrown and
what's that?
Was it like all overgrown? Oh, okay.
No, it's just your basic second generation forest. I wouldn't say it was overgrown at all. I mean, there was a decent road. I mean, if I can get my 37-foot motorhome in there, it's easy access. But every time we've gone in, and they've always been on high volume camping, weekends, we just never see anybody. But we went down before we got the motorhome. We went down and we decided we had used that hunting camp, and we got down there, and because of the fire season that year, and we're going back probably 3 years, the fire season was, going on, and there was campfire restrictions. So even though we had this lovely little campfire ring with these nice little stumps all the way around it, we couldn't light a fire. But it just made sense. It was a beautiful 70-degree night, no wind. It seemed normal to go sit around the campfire, even though we couldn't light one. And just before sunset, I'm kind of sitting opposite of my wife, Diane. And just before sunset, we're just sitting there talking, and we're the only ones in the area. We heard kind of from behind my wife, I would say 70 to 80 yards away, this incredible crack. And I mean, like almost like a rifle shot loud crack, but it wasn't a rifle shot. It sounded like wood on wood. It actually sounded like, if Brian and Shane, you guys had a Louisville Slugger, wooden baseball bats, and decided to play Star Wars with them, that sound of hardwood on hardwood was beyond anything like, let's say, an elk stepping on a branch and cracking it kind of thing. It was a very loud crack. And we looked at each other, and I said, I'm not sure we're alone. And, she kind of concurred. But what was even more amazing was after dark, only about a half hour after dark from behind me. So at my 6 o'clock, just after the sun went down, I mean, there's still a little twilight out there. I would estimate from maybe 100 to 150 yards behind me, we heard an entire very large tree slam to the ground. And I'm talking, you could feel the ground shake.
Yeah.
This is in the middle of a forest, 70 degrees, no wind, nobody around, just this. You could kind of hear it going right at the beginning. It was just like, bam!
Man.
So that's about the time we decided to turn the pickup truck around so that it was facing back out of there. But
Yeah.
I've heard as recently as last November, I want to say, I have to check my schedule, but I was in Nebraska, and I got to tell you guys about Nebraska. And let me know if I'm going over time or whatever. I'm just ram. Okay.
Yeah, I want to hear about
6:30.
Nebraska.
6:30.
That's closer for me. So.
I can only tell you part of Nebraska, but I'll tell you, in 28 years, I experienced things that I am like I can't justify or explain definitively, but some things happen that literally, again, that whole I can't get my head around it kind of thing. To this day, I just know what I saw. I saw it regularly. I have some friends that live on the Omaha reservation, as in their native Omahans.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been talking with them, chatting back and forth online for better part of 2 years, and then my friend told me we've discovered something that will literally ultimately rock the world. And I knew him well enough that he doesn't joke around. He's a very devout Christian, and I knew when he said, we've got some really good proof, that I got on the next plane and flew out there. And I mean, if you asked me to name the top 5 states in the United States, I'm thinking including Hawaii, Guam, and Puerto Rico or whatever. Nebraska, hello,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
I'm thinking cornfields forever, which is pretty much true, except that this reservation borders the Missouri River, and along the banks of the Missouri River are these densely wooded hardwood forests on these rolling hills, and it's very unpopulated and very rural, and I really don't know where to start. I flew in on a Saturday evening, got settled Sunday, met up with them, and Monday pretty much became my baptism, if you will, in their experiences. We went out every night, Monday through Friday, from like midnight till 2 a.m. I was not getting back to my motel until 3 a.m. Not my kind of a vacation, but it was worth it. It was really worth it. What I'm about to tell you, again, I don't pretend to know everything about it, because I don't. I can only tell you what I saw and what I experienced. And again, this is just in November. I'm pretty sure it's November. I'm trying to let me double check, but
I'm like on the edge of my seat right now.
I know. I'm like, can I go get some
so
popcorn?
Like adjust all my stuff here. And
anyway, that's
No,
about
I'm
all
like,
the time I have. So thanks,
Oh,
guys. I
oh.
appreciate you having
tune
me.
in for part 2 next week.
No, I'm trying to look at my
That's
deal here. Omaha, yeah, October. Excuse me, early October. I knew it was right in there. So early October. When I say we, I'm talking about my friend and his brother on some occasions. Would go out to this location, pitch black, no cars. Why? Because the reservation had locked down their main villages because of the COVID. And only because of my friend's status within the council was he allowed to be out after 10 o'clock. Everybody else had to be in by 10 and couldn't leave till the next morning.
wow.
And so that way we knew, the possibility of anybody else being out there on the res other than us was pretty nil. And really not that mattered. I'm just bringing it up by way of description of the situation. So we drive down this 2-lane road and get to this place. There's like one place to pull off of the road, seriously, in like a mile. And we pulled off. And so my baptism began Monday, October 11th, I think. I don't know how to say this. My friend would initially it was just us. Monday night we went out, and he kind of set me up for what to expect. And he said, "I'm just telling you, let me, kind of do the talking, if you will." And he would go out there, staying on the road. I mean, we're literally standing on the fog line looking into pitch blackness, and that's all I could see was as dark it could be. And again, no traffic, no indication, anybody anywhere around. So he would initially talk out in his tribal language. He would stand there and cup his hand to his mouth, and he'd say, "Oho, kage," which means "hello, friend." And then he'd wait, and I'm like, "Okay, now what?" And he'd do it a couple times, and I swear to God, within a minute, what I observed is something I'd heard about, but scientifically, and I'm no scientist by any means, but I cannot fathom the physics behind what happened, but you'd see a set of eyeballs just go blink back in the distance, and I'm like, "Is that them?" And he's like, "Uh huh." And then he'd go, "Gigaho," which means "come here, come closer." And had I known that, I would have told him to shut up. But sure enough, these, and in some cases, there were 2 sets of eyes and even 3 sets of eyes. And there were, okay, I'm like fireflies, but they're not moving, and they're paired up. And I mean, they are moving, but they're not like fireflies where they're, zipping all over the place. We don't have June bugs over here, but I've seen them when I've been back east. And anyway, these were like solid points of light. You could see them blink, come back on, and you could see them turn to where you'd only see one eye, and then when they turn back toward you, you'd see 2. Again, when I say eyes, I don't know. I just tell you this is what it looked like. Before I'd seen this, I really would have written it off as anything but what people are saying, because bioluminescence does exist in nature, but it's, I mean, both in plants and animals and even bacteria, but not in primates that we know of. And the second thing that about it that bothers me, if I had like little flashlights shining out of the back of my eyes, I would be kind of, wouldn't I be like blinding myself? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't
I can
know.
see that.
All
I
I
know what
can,
you're saying.
I don't know. There may be something that enables them to. It might be around the perimeter of their eyes. I don't know. I'm telling you what I saw.
Mhm.
Now, this happened Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday. I got on a plane back home, and I'm as baffled now as I was back in October. But hey, the thing that for me that kind of sunk it was the vocalizations that went along with it, and by that, and really of a range and a sound that I had not heard, and I've heard a number of vocalizations, but like the first night we got there, there was this, I want to say, as we're looking out into pitch darkness, there was a sound coming from about our 1 o'clock that it was toward the end of our visit, which is all I could call it. This high pitched wailing sing song sort of melody
Ooh,
that
hell
went
yeah.
on, and I can only assume it was a female. A coyote couldn't even do what this thing did, and it was, I mean, almost beautiful. I didn't understand it, but it was just this 5 or 6 second long little sound clip of her, greatest hits, and then 10 seconds would lapse and she did it again, and then there would be like another 10 seconds. She did it 4 times within a minute. And I wish I had a tape recorder, because I'm serious. I'd play that in my deck on my car, going down the road. It just was, it seemed very, not just melodic, just it seemed very natural and native and beautiful. And as the week went on, we would hear her another time, and exact same melody. You still there, Brian? Right?
Yeah, I'm here. I think we lost Shane. I was
Oh,
hearing
okay.
the thunder and the lightning from his. I saw the lightning.
Oh, he did tell me that he was getting some storms. So,
Yeah,
all right.
I bet you he got knocked
All
out.
right. So now we can talk behind his back.
Well, there's a lot of things I want to say about the guy. I really don't like him one bit, to be honest with you. I don't thinking about firing him from the show and just taking it over myself. So
Well, I'm looking for a job. Don't tell
yeah,
him.
yeah.
I might just take his place. I mean,
I think we look great on camera together. Look at us.
there you go.
Winning duo. We don't. So, no.
Anyway,
he may get her rebooted up and join in here in a minute, but
okay, cool.
if not, we're coming up on the 2-hour mark anyway. So
Yeah. So I'll just try to wrap this up. I mean, I could go on. I'm trying to condense 28 years into 2 hours. But anyway, so this was not just every night, 5 nights a week, that we were able to get these what looked like glowing eyes reacting and responding to my friend. I mean, I even got in the game. I was like, yeah, I'm going to learn, Omahaman or Omahamian or whatever you call it,
Yeah.
And but it was in 2 different locations. One probably 7 or 8 miles away from the original location, we weren't getting a lot of activity at one point. And so my friend says, well, I know another spot. If we're not getting action here, we might get some action over there. So we took my rental car and proceeded to go four-wheeling with it. I'm like, I can't even see the road I'm on. I'm like, where are you taking me? And it was like, we're going way back in the woods. And we got to this spot, shut the car down. We got out. He does his, ho, kage, gigaho stuff. And sure enough, like not even a minute goes by, and right down the road where we stopped going, some two bright lights light up, equally spaced. They never separated. They did move in tandem with each other, but I'm like, and then we had another one flank us on the right, like at about our 3 o'clock that we kind of caught onto. And I just looked at my friend. I go, have you ever like tried to approach him? And this guy's bigger than me. He is, hell no. And I'm like, here, hold my beer.
There you go.
And so I just, it wasn't easy, trust me, because I'm like, I got to find out. So, I mean, this is what my life's been about. This is my mission. So I start walking through these crisp fall leaves toward these set of eyes and their lights. And sure enough, I got about probably 50, 60 feet from them, and they just blinked out, and I never saw them again.
Yeah. What color?
Well, that's the interesting thing. They were a really interesting white, okay, for the most part, and there were times they would dim, and there was times where they were brighter than hell. But they did on occasion change colors. We saw orange, we saw red, we saw yellow, and in one case we actually saw kind of a bluish hue. But this again over, 5 evenings. But I'll tell you this, I did bring, I brought a thermal scope, a FLIR TK Scout with me that films, and you know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And I pointed it out in the field where these lights are, and for the light, I don't know why, but I could not pick up a heat signature, which is kind of bizarre in itself. My theory on that might just be that if you've ever taken one of those and filmed somebody that was bundled up, heavy clothing and whatnot, all you're really going to see is their face and maybe their hands. Yeah. Because the clothing is insulating them. Well, would it not make sense that this big hairy coat that these guys are sporting wouldn't serve the same purpose, and that is insulate the heat, keep it inside? So again, though, I would have thought I'd seen, any sort of exposed skin, hands or face, but I could not for the life of me get anything like that. I will tell you, I had no idea they were going to take me in the field. And so not being prepared, I didn't bring any game cameras. I really, really regret not having done that. And not being familiar with the area and having been out there for like 2 nights already.
We're back.
You made it.
Yeah. I only took a number 1, but gee, I get it.
When you gotta go, you gotta go.
Wow.
There you go.
Anyway, welcome back.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're lucky you came back, Shane. I just about had you replaced.
Yeah.
I was gonna take your position on the show from now on. So
I don't know what he's talking about. This is
my dream job.
I was just
I'm being set up.
Papers.
You're being set up, Todd.
Oh, he meant kindling. Anyway, so I was just telling about this experience I had in Omaha, on the Omaha reservation. This eye shine and vocals and whatnot. I will say, come midweek on Wednesday, I was supposed to meet my friend, and I wanted to see the main area that we're going to in the daylight, because every time I was getting, escorted out there at midnight, and we'd be out there for a couple hours watching these crazy eyes glowing in the dark. So I said, I want to go back there, and I need to see what it looks like, because I want to make sure, because not knowing, I mean, it was so black, I couldn't see the hand in front of your face, kind of black, and I wanted to make sure what the backdrop was. And as it turned out, there was like a ditch alongside the road, and then it kind of tapered up, and then maybe 50 feet up, it kind of leveled off into what looked like an old logging road, which is kind of where these things seem to be hanging. And then behind that, it dropped down into like a little gully, which I might have had some seasonal water through. And then behind that, it went straight up like a hill. My concern was, hey, is there like I don't know. I was, being critical. I was like, is there a house in the background? Are there street lights in the background? Is there some other ambient source of light that we're confusing, this whole thing with? It's kind of like when I, was going through that whole session of not being able to, this denial period, not being able to rationalize what I'm seeing. So that day I did get to go out there. I don't know, would be going back out at midnight, and I did bring a Tascam. You know what that is? A Tascam, for your viewers, is a digital tape recorder, not a camera. I don't even know why they call it that, but anyway, it can record up 2 or 3 days straight because it's digital format. There you go, right there, baby. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
It kind of looks like a taser. Anyway,
A little bit, yeah.
So
I pretend like I'm a Ghostbuster trying to find ghosts.
there you go. You're killing me. Kill me, Smalls. Anyway, so I'll wrap this up. I went up there and I set that Tascam up in that crotch of this tree, right in the, ground zero where I believe they were standing, thinking, I got this now. And I hit the button, the power button. Do you want to show the folks at home what that looks like?
Oh, yeah.
I need a demonstration.
Oh, yeah, man.
This is where I get to look like a totally, So you hit the power button, what do you get?
Oh, come on. Please tell. Okay, there we go.
Okay. You get a red light, right?
Yeah, so when you hit record, you got to hit it twice.
Thank you.
Got to hit it twice.
You. Yeah. So I get up in there. I hit it once. I saw the light come on. I'm like, I got this. I hadn't used it for a while. So then I set it down in the crotch of this tree, and as soon as I stand up, I kid you not, here comes this female vocal that I was telling Brian about.
The creepy sounding singing
No,
thing?
it was singing. It was literally like a song, and she did it. And this is broad daylight. It's like 1 PM. I'm like, oh crap! I figured they'd be sleeping right now. So I'm like, dear God, I'm glad. I hope I got that on tape. And then I turn and I walk back toward the road where my rental car is. I'm not kidding, I got about 15 feet, and I heard this. Like 10 times louder than that, on the opposite direction from where the singer was. And I mean, it was that fast. It was rap, 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 6 times, like in 6 seconds. It was probably 5 seconds. It was just wow, wow, but it was louder than hell. Just as loud as what Diana and I had heard up on Mount Hood. but I don't even know how. I'm trying to visualize how something can hit and backswing and hit that fast, that rapidly
Mm-hmm.
in that short a period of time. And I don't know. Unless maybe it had freaking drumsticks.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, that was like, I'm gone. I'm out of there. But anyway, I'll tell you one more short story, and that was I told you my friend was is a very devout Christian, right?
Mm-hmm.
This Omaha native. So one night, we weren't getting much reaction. After about an hour, it kind of died down, and my friend says, "I'm going to try something. I've only done a couple times," but he says, sometimes I get a reaction. I go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, I'm going to pray with them, and I'm going to call them to prayer."
That's interesting. Never
And
heard this before.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay. And so sure enough, he at first calls out to them, "Kage, listen to me. I want to, we haven't done this in a while, but once again, I want to pray with you, pray for your family and for your children, and with this disease that's going around, that you not be harmed. And if you would like, Gigaho, come closer, and I will pray for you." And this guy, and then he bows his head and starts doing his prayer. It was very nice, and I'm like keeping my head down.
Mm-hmm.
And his prayer was probably 2.5 minutes long. And about a minute into it, maybe, I don't know, maybe 50 seconds to a minute into it, I'm going to back this off a little bit. So both of us have our heads bowed. He's doing his thing. And from what sounded like 60, maybe 70 feet away, we get,
Whoa.
Dead silence. And I'm like,
Wow.
And he kept praying. He just kept doing his prayer. Just, and then like a minute later he stopped, and I couldn't wait for him to stop because I just rhetorically said, "Dude, was that them?" And he goes, without even blinking, he goes, "Yep, that was them." So anyway, that's just some of the fun adventures of me and my meds, and the adventure goes on. No, seriously,
Are you coming to Oklahoma?
What's that?
Are you going to come to Oklahoma?
I really want to. You got more details, let me know.
All right, I'll see if I can.
But I'm counting on it. And I've got lots of toys to bring to the game. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm looking forward to it.
Shane may not know, but Shane and I introduced Todd to the guys on that deal we're working on later this year. Trying to get him in on that deal. So.
Oh yeah. Okay. Cool.
Sounds fantastic.
Take him to our spot in Southeast Oklahoma and let him.
Well, and it doesn't hurt to have second opinion and different ideas and
fresh
outside eyes looking in, man.
Yeah, fresh eyes, man. That's the thing.
All right, guys.
All right.
This has been fun.
Yeah. Thanks for coming.
Any more questions from the audience? Or
the last one is your buddy Todd said he fired you for that, not having the audio.
Larry said he fired Todd.
Yeah, that Larry. Yeah.
Damn it, Larry.
Larry, you have to actually pay me to fire me. So.
Oh yeah, that's why.
Get over yourself.
That's why me and Shane can't fire each other. So. I think Shane, your check. Have you got your check yet?
Oh yeah, man. Bigfoot money coming in by the droves.
Oh,
I got
right.
Yeah, the royalties on it are just amazing.
No.
fine. If
No,
we're
it's
all-
not.
Yeah. Did my agent get a hold of you, by the way, before
Yeah.
this?
Uh-uh.
Something about non-disclosure agreements and
Oh,
releases and stuff.
I
No.
didn't check any emails
Uh-uh.
before the show, so
Uh-uh.
I missed
All
it.
right.
No NDAs over here, man.
But Todd, we appreciate you coming on, buddy.
Yeah, dude.
Great to
It's been
finally-
fun, and I'm honored to be on, and hopefully you have me back again sometime.
Yeah, sure, man. As you get new stuff coming or whatever, just hit us up, and we'll bring you on. You can blurt it all out right here if you want to.
Well, I do feel a great burden lifted from me, and it's been somewhat
We'll send you a bill.
cathartic. Yeah.
Yeah. Therapy sessions. That's what Shane and I do.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
therapy.
we'll send
We'll
you.
file that under therapy.
Yeah, we'll send you an invoice.
Hey,
So.
you wouldn't be the first.
All right, buddy. It was good talking to you.
All right, guys. You take care, and
See you, Todd.
let's
Hey,
do it
thanks
again.
what you done for our country, sir.
Yes,
No.
thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you.
All right,
my-
we'll see you soon.
My privilege. Thank you.
All right, buddy.
All right.
Okay. All right. See you.
All right, man. I know I was going to wait and talk about this Friday, but I guess we can go ahead and allude to it a little bit. If you, I'll be seeing you Friday.
Yeah.
But as much as I love you and like to see you, it's not for a reason I really care for, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, this is not the gathering that we plan on.
Yeah.
Ever.
It's not for anything fun. No Bigfoot and no research, nothing like that. It's just paying tribute and honor to a very, very close friend of ours, and probably one of the nicest people, purest-hearted people I've ever met in my entire life.
The most genuine human being on earth.
Yep.
Ever.
And everybody knows Tanya Knight passed away. It's been 9 days ago, I guess. So I know we can ask for continued prayers for her family, and especially her kids. With yesterday being Mother's Day, and as young as those kids are, I can't imagine the day they had to deal with, and the thoughts that were in their heads. So hopefully they're doing well today, and get back to. I mean, it ain't never going to be a normal life because you can't replace a woman like that. So, but hopefully some type of normalcy there, if at all possible. So
I'm sure she instilled some of that greatness in her kiddos, man.
Oh yeah. I met. I can't remember if I met the youngest one, but the oldest one I did. So.
You met her son.
Yeah, in Honaby. I think it was back. It was either 18 or 19. I can't. It might have been 2019. So.
I can think of thousands of people that could have left way, way, way before Tanya did this earth, but that's just not the way it works.
No, unfortunately not. So, so I will be seeing you Friday.
Yeah, man.
We'll make that trip Saturday and pay our respects.
Yep.
And maybe we'll talk about it more Friday. So.
Yeah.
Other than that, man, great show.
Todd was great, man.
Cool thunderstorm going on back there in the background. So.
As soon as he said, and the lady started to sing and just whoosh.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, Todd has powers.
It was so fun though, because I was like, yeah, he's fired for this. Like Todd's like, I'm looking for a new gig. I was like, we look great on camera together. You're hired.
Oh man,
Let's do this. Yeah, he was a lot of fun, man. So
I hope he has a good sense of humor.
Yeah, I hope he comes down to Oklahoma and joins us on that little thing.
Oh yeah.
So it'd be cool to have him part of that. Mm-hmm. So, either with us as a group or even on his own, but I still would like to meet the guy. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right, brother.
All right, dude.
Anything else?
Just pray for Tanya's family and love your loved ones always.
So that's it. All right, bud. I'll see you
All right,
Friday.
man. All right, brother.
All right.